Right before finals week, Khloe, the school's resident rich girl and prom queen, volunteered to help everyone blow off some steam. That night, the entire senior class showed up at the most exclusive club in the city. The only person Khloe didn't invite was me. I scrolled past the photos on Instagram and Snapchat, didn't shed a tear, put on my noiseancelling headphones, and went back to my textbooks. Because in my last life, I took the bait. I saw Khloe's story, panicked, and rushed to the club just to make sure everyone was okay. And I walked straight into her dramatic little moment. Khloe confessing her feelings to my boyfriend Liam, right in front of the whole class. I swallowed my pride. I tried to be the responsible one. I begged my classmates to go home, to rest, to focus on the exams that would decide our futures. And what did I get? Pure atred. You can't have fun, so you won't let anyone else have fun. It wasn't until I sent a few pictures into the parents' group chat, proof that half the class was out drinking the night before finals, that everyone got dragged home. They all did great on their exams. They all got into top schools and I was completely ostracized. Then on the day Liam and I both received our acceptance letters, Khloe posted something alarming online and ended up in a medical emergency that sent everyone into a frenzy. The narrative wrote itself. Poor Khloe, sweet Khloe, fragile Khloe, and me, the jealous villain who pushed her too far. What no one saw was the chain reaction Khloe had engineered from the start. That night at the club, after I interrupted her confession, she spiraled into a humiliating situation that someone recorded. The video spread fast. By morning, her reputation was in pieces. And suddenly, my classmates weren't thinking about finals or consequences or truth. They were thinking about revenge. They decided I was to blame for everything. They cornered me, threatened me, and made sure I was isolated from anyone who could help. They terrorized my family with lies and pressure until everything I loved started collapsing. Then they turned it into a story for the world. They framed me as unstable, as immoral, as someone who brought it on herself. By the time I finally broke, no one was listening. When I died, the class celebrated like they'd won something. Liam stood beside Khloe like a hero beside an angel. And only after I was gone did I learn the truth about Khloe, who she really was, what connection she had, and how carefully she'd planned every step. Then I opened my eyes. I was back. Back to the night she offered to treat the whole class. This time, I decided I'd give them exactly what they wanted. Finals are basically here. Khloe chirped in the classroom, smiling like a celebrity. I know everyone's stressed, so tonight is on me. Black card energy only. I'm taking you guys to the hottest spot in town. Cheers erupted. Khloe lifted a platinum card high in the air, like she was blessing us all. My hand froze on the classroom door handle. Inside, the voices got louder. Oh, and whatever you do, someone said, laughing. Do not tell Luna. She's such a killjoy. Another voice added. She'll definitely snitch to the teachers or our parents. More laughter. Khloe flipped her long hair, playing the benevolent queen. Be nice, she said sweetly, like she was defending me. Luna's just intense. That sentence hit me like ice water. The scene was too familiar. I'd already lived it. Slowly, I let go of the handle and stepped away from the door. I was reborn. The realization rang through my head so loudly my whole body trembled. Not from fear, but from excitement. In my last life, I hadn't heard that conversation. Everyone had kept their mouths shut. Even Liam, my boyfriend, had told me, go home early. Rest. You need to be sharp tomorrow. I thought it meant he cared. Now I knew he was just covering his tracks. I walked down the hall quietly until I was out of earshot. My phone felt heavy in my hand. Then I heard Liam's voice in my memory. Careless, smug, and cruel. Words I only learned after everything was over. She's pretty, but she's such a nerd. She follows me around. I can't dump her right before finals. We're classmates. I'd look bad. And Khloe right on cue playing Saint. Stop. Luna's desperate. This exam is her only ticket out of mediocrity. Of course she tries hard. Just like that, Khloe became the kind, gracious, rich beauty. Liam became the gentle golden boy class president. And I became the pathetic girl obsessed with him. What made me shake with anger wasn't just the betrayal. It was the audacity. Liam was the one who chased me for months. Liam was the one who begged me to date him. I promised my parents I'd stay focused, keep my grades perfect, and earn valedictorian because I didn't want anyone to say I was throwing my future away for a boy. And he repaid me by using me as a placeholder. I forced myself to breathe, think, timing, sequence. In a few hours, the class would be at the club. Khloe would accidentally forget to block me from her story. I would see it, rush over, walk into her confession, and the dominoes would fall. Exactly the way she wanted. It had never been an accident. It was a trap. I turned the corner and called my parents. Mom, I said, keeping my voice steady. Can you ask my tutor to come tonight? There was a pause tonight. Honey, you never schedule extra sessions the weekend before finals. I want to, I said. No breaks. I'm staying in. My mom sounded proud. Okay, I'll call. When I hung up, I didn't feel guilty. Not even a little. This time, I wasn't going to save them. I wasn't going to warn them. I wasn't going to play the responsible martyr, so they could spit on me later, while the whole class sneaked around meeting up and giggling about outfits and fake IDs. I sat at my desk with my tutor and worked through calculus problems until my brain went quiet. And when my phone buzzed, when the first notifications tried to light up the screen, I got up, walked to the kitchen, and dropped my phone into a bowl of water. The screen flickered, then went black. A smile finally crept onto my face. All right, I said, returning to my chair. Let's keep going. At the club, the bass thumped so hard it felt like the walls were breathing. Lights flashed. The music swallowed hesitation whole. A few students hovered uncertainly with drinks in their hands. Khloe, finals are literally on Monday. Someone said, is this really a good idea? If anyone finds out, Khloe laughed, her designer outfit catching the strobe lights like armor. She clung to Liam's arm like it belonged to her. The whole class is here, she said loud enough for everyone to hear. Who's going to snitch if we all keep our mouths shut? She tilted her head, smiling sharp. The only person with a big mouth didn't get invited. The doubt evaporated under peer pressure and glitter. Chloe's got us. She's loaded. It's one night. We deserve it. Someone called out. Everyone's here except Luna. Another voice snickered. If she wasn't Liam's girlfriend, we wouldn't even tolerate her. My name floated through the crowd like a joke. Liam, already flushed from a few rounds, slammed his glass down. Don't mention her, he muttered. I'm already regretting it. Cheers erupted. Dump her. Finally, Chloe's smile widened. Satisfied. She pulled out her phone, snapped a grid of photos, and posted them with a caption that screamed, perfect life, perfect friends, perfect night. Liam drank more. Chloe's hand slid into his. He let it. And as the night peaked, right when Chloe believed I would have seen the post and come running, she finally made her move. She stepped into the center of the group, lifted her chin, and looked at Liam like the whole world was holding its breath. Liam, she said, voice soft. Graduation is coming. I don't want any regrets. The DJ switched from loud party music to a slow song like the universe had been hired. A spotlight found them. Chloe looked expensive and delicate at the same time, perfectly styled vulnerability. I know you have a girlfriend, she continued, but I have to be honest. I like you. Liam stared at her, swallowed hard, and you could see his resolve wobble. Chloe, as she touched a finger to his lips, eyes flicking toward the entrance. Then her brows knit slightly. She didn't see me. Not even a shadow. Don't answer yet, she whispered quickly, forcing a fragile smile. I know you wouldn't hurt Luna. I'm just jealous of her. She glanced again at the door. Still nothing. The people around them started chanting anyway, drunk on the moment. Say yes. Say yes, Liam. Chloe is way better. Dump the nerd and date the queen. Liam's eyes sharpened under the pressure. He looked like he decided something. Chloe smiled, but her fingers tightened on her dress and a nervous sheen gathered at her hairline because the script was off. The villain wasn't showing up. While the club reached its boiling point, I was lying comfortably on my sofa at home, a blanket over my legs, my notes spread out neatly on the coffee table. Late that night, my parents came home from the office. When they saw me still awake, they looked surprised. I didn't waste time. Dad, I said calmly. I don't want to sponsor that scholarship student anymore. My dad blinked. Who? The one everyone calls the rich girl, I said. Cancel the secondary card I authorized for her tonight. He stared at me like I'd started speaking another language. My mother's brows knit together. Luna, what are you talking about? Why would you be paying for Chloe? Because she'd found out. In my last life, she'd found out who her anonymous sponsor was, and the moment she did, everything became personal. I swallowed the lump in my throat and forced the words out cleanly. We've been sponsoring her, I said quietly. Through the program, she's not rich. She's been pretending, and she's been using your money to buy loyalty. My mom's lips parted in shock. My dad's face sharpened, instantly alert, in that way it always did when business turned into danger. Who told you this? He asked. No one, I said. I figured it out. Please just trust me, Free said. A beat of silence. Then my dad nodded once, decisive. He pulled out his phone, stood, and walked toward his office. My mom came closer, lowering her voice. Honey, did something happen at school? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to tell her about the other timeline, about the way the whole class had turned into a single hungry mouth chewing through my life and smiling about it. I wanted to tell her that I could still hear my father's voice in a memory that wasn't supposed to exist. But I couldn't. Not yet. So I did the only thing I could do. I stepped into her arms and held on like the world was trying to take her away again. I'm okay, he whispered. I just want to focus on finals. I don't want drama. My mom kissed my hair. Then we'll keep you safe from drama. When my dad returned, his jaw was set. It's done, he said. Cards frozen. Any charges will decline. Relief moved through me like warm water. I didn't smile. Not yet. Because in my last life, the night didn't end at the club. It started there. Across town, the club was still roaring. Music, sweat, laughter, the illusion of consequence-free fun. Chloe stood in the center of it all, glowing under lights she thought belonged to her. Liam stayed close, basking in attention like it was oxygen. She kept glancing toward the entrance. Still no Luna. Still no interruption. Her perfect little confession had stalled, hanging in the air too long. The crowd had already started to shift from romantic to restless. Then a server showed up. At first, it was polite. Miss, we'll just need a payment authorization for the table. Chloe barely looked at him. She tossed her hair, waved her hand, and laughed like it was part of the show. Put it on my card, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The server held out the handheld terminal. Chloe took the card out with a flourish, platinum, dramatic, expensive looking, and slapped it down like she was shutting the world up. The terminal beeped once, then again. The server's smile flattened. It declined. Chloe's expression flickered. A tiny crack in the mask. She snatched the card back and tried again. Harder this time. Like force could turn no into yes. Declined. Try it again. She snapped. The server did. Same result. Behind Chloe, the class started to murmur. It declined. No way. She literally said black card energy. Chloe's cheeks tightened. She lifted her chin, performing calm. My bank's probably flagging it, she said breezily. It's fine. But the server didn't laugh. He didn't flirt. He didn't back down. Ma'am, he said, voice lower now. The total is high. We can't keep running tabs. We need a payment method. Chloe's eyes darted to Liam, to the crowd, to the door. Still no me. And then something else happened. Something she hadn't planned for. A big man stepped out from behind the bar, heavy gold on his hands, eyes like he'd stopped finding things funny a long time ago. What's going on? He asked, not loud, but the room around him felt quiet anyway. The server pointed. Their card's not going through. The man's gaze slid over the students, young, drunk, loud, wearing confidence like it was armor. Then he smiled. It wasn't warm. You kids know where you are? He asked. Someone laughed nervously. A club? The man leaned forward a little. This isn't the kind of place where you rack up a big bill and shrug, he said. So either you pay or we call your parents and the police and tell them why a bunch of underage students are here. Panic rippled like a wave. A girl clutched her purse. We can't. My parents think I'm studying. Another boy swore under his breath. We're dead. Liam stepped forward, trying to sound like the class president instead of a teenager with alcohol on his breath. Relax, he said, forcing a smile. We're not trying to cause trouble. How much is it? The man gestured toward the screen. 68,800. The number hit them like a slap. That's insane. Someone blurted. That's a scam. The man's smile vanished. You think I'm scamming you? He said calmly. You've been ordering premium bottles all night. You've been loud. You've been acting like this place belongs to you. Chloe's face was pale now. She clung to Liam's arm like he could hold her upright. Call my driver, she whispered, voice shaking. Call someone. Anyone? But she didn't have a driver. And she didn't have anyone. Not really. The moment the class realized that, the mood changed. No more laughter. No more chanting. No more Khloe the Queen. Just a room full of terrified teenagers realizing they'd bet their futures on a lie. Then someone pushed a shove, drunk, panicked, stupid into the wrong person. The man's head turned slightly. And behind him, a couple of security guys moved. It didn't become a full riot, not like movies. It was worse than that. Fast, messy, confused, people yelling, people trying to leave, doors that didn't open the way they expected, shoes slipping on spilled drinks, and above it all, Chloe's voice sharp and trembling. Call Luna, she snapped, desperation ripping through her. Call her right now. Liam fumbled for his phone, still trying to keep his pride from cracking. He called. No answer again. No answer. Chloe's nails dug into his arm. She's doing this, Khloe hissed, eyes wild. She's doing it on purpose. Liam's face darkened, anger turning fear into something he could recognize. Of course, he muttered. Of course she is, because blaming me was easier than admitting he'd been stupid enough to follow Khloe. An hour later, in my house, I slid a new SIM into a cheap backup phone my dad had given me just in case, and logged into the class group chat. The moment I appeared online, messages poured in like a flood. Where are you? Answer the phone. Luna, this is your fault. Khloe, you're doing this on purpose. I knew it. I deleted the last one without reading it twice. Then a new video popped into the parents' group chat. A shaky clip, harsh lights, a familiar face on a stretcher, the background unmistakably hospital. A mother's voice sobbed over the recording. My child was supposed to be studying. Why is he in the ER? Why were they at a nightclub? The chat exploded. Teachers started calling. Parents started showing up at the hospital. And like a domino chain, every lie collapsed into the next lie until the whole class was standing under fluorescent lights, bruised and shaking, while adults shouted questions no one could answer. When my homeroom teacher called me, her voice was controlled. Too controlled. Luna, she said, please come to the hospital with your parents. We need to ask you some questions. I glanced at my dad. He already looked like he decided we were going. Okay, I said softly. We're on our way. In the car, my dad kept one hand on the wheel and one hand clenched, knuckles white. I want you to tell me the truth, he said quietly. All of it. How you knew. Why you froze the card. What you're afraid of. My throat tightened. I'm afraid. I admitted that they're going to try to make me the villain again. My mom turned in the passenger seat. Again? I didn't answer. I couldn't. But my dad heard the shape of what I wasn't saying. His face hardened. At the hospital entrance. Chaos greeted us. Parents packed the hallway. Teachers stood with clipboards like paperwork could contain panic. A few kids sat with ice packs, staring at the floor like they just realized adulthood didn't care about excuses. And the moment I stepped into view, a hush cut through the noise. Then the whispers started. She's the only one who wasn't there. How convenient. Look at her. Not a scratch. Someone's mother turned her head slowly and stared at me like I was a stain. And then Khloe appeared. She looked smaller without the lights and music. Her makeup had smudged. Her expensive clothes looked out of place beside hospital tiles, but her eyes were sharp, still performing. She pushed through the crowd like she belonged at the center of it. Then she pointed at me. You, she cried, voice loud enough to make every head turn. Why didn't you answer? Do you know what happened because of you? I blinkte her. Come. Khloe took a step closer, trembling with rage and fear. The whole class, everyone. She choked, then forced it into a sob. We got hurt. We're all going to be affected, and you're just going to walk into finals like nothing happened. I stared at her like she just offered me a gift. Then I lifted my hand, not to hit her, to show them something. I pulled out my water-damaged phone, the one I dropped into the bowl, and held it up like evidence. My phone died, I said loud and clear. I couldn't answer. A few parents scoffed. I kept going. I didn't go out, I said, because I was studying with a tutor at home in front of my parents. My dad stepped forward then, voice low but sharp. My daughter was home, he said. All night. A woman near the wall snapped. Then why did Khloe call her? Why was she the one you needed to reach? Chloe's lips trembled. Because Khloe needed a scapegoat. Because Khloe needed someone to carry the blame, so she could walk away clean. She turned toward the homeroom teacher, eyes filling up on command. Teacher, she whispered. I didn't want to say anything, but I have to. Someone planned this. The teacher's face softened, and I felt it like déjà vu, like a cold hand sliding up my spine. In my last life, adults had believed Khloe too. Khloe lifted her voice. This wasn't an accident, she said, shaking her head. Someone wanted this to happen. Someone wanted us to get in trouble and get hurt. She pointed at me again confidently now. It was Luna. The hallway erupted. Parents shouted. Kids cried. Someone barked. How could you do that to your classmates? My dad's arm moved in front of me like a shield. Enough, he said. Dangerous quiet. If you accuse my daughter, you'd better have proof. Khloe's chin lifted. I do, she said, and her eyes gleamed. She heard about the party. She knew we were going. And then conveniently her phone broke. Conveniently she never showed. Conveniently, our payment method stopped working. She turned toward my father with false innocence. She canceled my card, Khloe said softly, like she was confessing a sad truth. That's why everything happened. Every head turned toward my dad. And that was the moment I understood why she'd always been so confident. Because Khloe didn't just manipulate teenagers. She manipulated adults. I stepped out from behind my dad, heart pounding, and looked straight at her. Let's stop pretending, I said. The hallway quieted. Khloe's lashes fluttered. What? I spoke evenly, like I was reading a list. You weren't rich, I said. You were sponsored. Her face didn't change fast enough. A flicker. Tiny but real. I turned to the crowd. My family has been anonymously supporting a scholarship student for years, I said. That student is Khloe. My mom gasped. Khloe's mouth opened then closed. The teacher blinked, stunned. That can't be. It can, my dad said, stepping forward. And it is. He pulled out his phone, tapped, then held it up so the teacher could see. I already contacted the organization, he said, and our legal team. The card Khloe used tonight was issued under my family's name. It was never hers. She was never supposed to present herself as someone with unlimited money. She violated the agreement. A ripple ran through the parents. Wait, so she lied? She used sponsor money to pretend to be rich. Khloe snapped out of shock and lunged back into performance mode. No, she cried. That's not what happened. They're twisting it. My dad held up a hand, cutting her off. There's more, he said. Then from down the hallway, two people approached. A suited man carrying a folder, and an officer who looked like he'd already heard enough excuses for one night. The suited man introduced himself as our attorney. He flipped open the folder calmly. Over the past 3 years, he said, Khloe has received funds earmarked for academic support and basic living costs. We have reason to believe a significant portion was used for non-essential purchases and entertainment. We also have documentation of repeated requests for emergency expenses that do not align with verified records. Khloe's knees went weak. You can't, she whispered. You can't do this to me. My dad's expression didn't soften. You did it to yourself, he said. And you did it to those kids. The officer stepped forward. We also have statements, he said, and footage from inside the venue that shows who arranged the booking and who encouraged everyone to stay. Khloe's head snapped up. There are no cameras. The officer's stare was flat. There were enough, he said. And there were phones. The class started turning on itself right there in the hallway. Kids looked at Khloe like they were seeing her for the first time. Khloe told us she had connections. She said it was safe. She said nobody would know. Liam appeared then, hair messy, face pale, a bandage on his forehead. He looked like he wanted to disappear, but he couldn't. His eyes found mine, and for a second, the old timeline flashed between us like a blade. He tried to speak. I didn't let him. Liam, I said loud enough for everyone. You were there. You encouraged it. You said you'd break up with me. You called me a problem. His face tightened. Parents stared at him now too. The golden boy image cracked like cheap glass. Khloe suddenly grabbed the teacher's sleeve, desperate. Please, she whispered, crying now for real. You said you believed me? The teacher pulled back slowly, confusion and betrayal fighting across her face. You told me you were from a wealthy family, the teacher said, voice shaking. You told me your parents donated. Khloe saw broke. I had to, she choked. If people knew I was. If they knew the truth, they'd look down on me. A parent snapped. So you let our kids take the fall to protect your image. Another shouted. My son could lose his future. The hallway erupted again, this time, not at me, at her. And in the middle of the noise, I stood very still and breathed because this was what had never happened before. In my last life, Khloe's lies had landed clean. This time, the truth had something it never had before. Timing, proof, a witness list, an adult world that couldn't ignore it. 2 days later, I walked into my finals with a clear head and steady hands. Not because the world was fair. Because I stopped trying to be the savior of people who were happy to burn me alive. Some students didn't show up. Some showed up rattled, exhausted. Their confidence shattered. The class group chat went quiet. Teachers stopped calling. Parents stopped yelling at me. And when the acceptance letters came again, mine first, then the rest, I didn't wait for anyone to congratulate me. I took my results, hugged my parents, and turned the page like I'd been practicing all along. Months later, Khloe's case moved forward. So did the school's investigation. So did the consequences everyone swore could never happen to good kids. Liam tried to find me once outside a building where he knew I'd be. He looked thinner, rougher around the edges, like the future he'd assumed was guaranteed had finally asked him what he'd actually earned. I didn't think it would get that bad, he said. Boy, slow. I didn't think that's the problem, I replied. You didn't think? You just followed whoever made you feel important. His eyes flicked down. Can we talk? I held his gaze without flinching. We are talking, I said. This is it. Then I walked away because in my last life, they celebrated my death like it was a victory. This time they got something far worse than revenge. They got to live with what they did while I lived without.